Halloween
forever.
All right, Steve, you lying ass, trifling ass bitch. What does an occult window washer use?
What does an occult window washer use?
Steve, I think you can get this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think you can fucking get this one.
Can I get
Think
this
about
one?
the tools of a window washer. Now, if he was an occult window washer, what would be perhaps be a variant on that tool that he might use?
I can only think of, like, it's the Animaniacs joke, I believe. That's the window viper.
Oh, the Window Viper. Yes, that is an excellent choice. That is incorrect, but that is an excellent choice. And frankly, that might be an acceptable answer, Steve. But unfortunately, I was looking for a squeegee board, Steve. I was looking for a squeegee board.
Yeah.
Welcome, boys and ghouls, to a very pagan episode of Halloween is Forever. I'm Brian.
I'm the window viper.
I'm the Window Viper. I forgot about that. Great show. God damn, I love Animaniacs. Yeah, guys, if you can't tell from that hilarious joke at the top of the show, this is our September showdown. That means spooky season is well upon us. I don't give a shit what you say. We are deep into it. The Halloween decorations are up. The spooky shit is happening. I've collected all the cum and all the period blood, and I'm ready to do so much sex magic throughout the entire month of September and October, guys. But this showdown episode, the topic is occult horror. I do like to imagine, Steve, that there are people who are tuning in for the first time to this episode, because we get a lot of new listeners around spooky season on account of the title of our podcast. And I'm hoping that they put it on in their car and they're like, maybe they're driving along with one of their coworkers, you know, they're carpooling to work, and the first thing that comes out of my mouth is about cum and period blood and sex magic.
Yeah, you know, I think they're ready. I've been seeing the numbers go up. Line always goes up around this time. It just happens.
Yeah.
Line goes up.
It just happens.
Yep.
Goes way up and then peaks around the Halloween season. And then this year, I think we should fully do a real switcheroo, do a real grift on these folks, and do something just absolutely perverse and wacky for Halloween this year. Again, just to poison as many of the minds of this great podcast community as humanly possible. I don't know what that is yet. If you got any ideas out there, any of the boys and ghouls out there got any ideas of how to really just spread the word of Satan, if we can just move in the direction of killing God, that's really what we're ultimately looking for. I think I set out at the beginning of the summer, Steve, with my summer goal was to kill God. I think. Yeah. Was that this year? Okay.
I have said it a number of times.
It's kind of like how some people are like, this year I'm really going to lose weight. You know what I mean? Right. Every year I go, God, this year, if I can achieve one thing, I'm going to try to kill God. And I haven't got there yet, but boy, howdy, I'm going to keep trying. So if you have any suggestions on how we can really try and get that done during this, the spookiest of seasons, that's what spooky season means to me, right? Yes, it's trick or treat. Yes, it's apple cider donuts. Yes, it's Charlie Brown, you know, the great pumpkin Charlie Brown, but it's also kill God. Yeah, that's really what I'm going for.
I guess what we're looking for is somebody in the consultancy world who can just tell us how to kill God with a podcast. We get plenty of messages like every week from people across the globe who are like, we want to promote your podcast. And it's like, no, you don't. You're not that good. Like, you would have more followers. But if you message us with a bespoke message like, hey, here's how you kill God in these 3 easy steps with a podcast, I'll respond. I'll respond.
Ears are wide open if we get that message. You know, I'll come listen to a fucking timeshare presentation if you're going to tell me how to achieve my ultimate goal. We haven't got there yet. Everyone's like, hey, take this, mushroom drink or this memory tea and advertise it on your podcast. And I'm like, guys, keep your $50. Tell me how to kill God. You know. All right, guys. That's our topic here for September. I think it's a wonderful introduction to the spooky season. for our September Showdown episode. But for those of you who are new to the show, here's how this sumbitch of things works. We put out some spooky, ooky, yummy content every week here on the internet. But the first Monday of every month, we do a Showdown topic where my name's Brian. Hi, nice to meet you. Steve. That's Steve over there. If you're in the Discord, you can see him right now. Uh-huh. And then our Patreon subscribers, our patrons, if you will, which if you were one of them, you could be in the Discord here currently with us recording live. Each one of those respective parties select a movie associated with the topic. You say, how do you get the fucking topic? Well, hold on to your fucking britches. I'll explain to you how you get the topic. We got a big old spinny ass wheel with about a bajillion potential topics on it. Everything from genres to performers to crazy, weird, minute subgenres of horror and sci-fi, whatever. And we put them all in this spinny ass wheel. We spin it 3 times. We get 3 potential topics. We put it out on the social medias, a little poll on the Instagram and then on the X. And then yins actually vote and choose which one. So like this month for September, we had an option of J-horror, Japanese horror, or the Child's Play franchise, best of the Child's Play franchise, or occult horror, and y'all voted for occult horror. So here we are doing it in the wonderful spooky month of September. If you want to provide suggestions for topics, if you've got suggestions for other episodes throughout the month that aren't showdowns, or if you just want to see some spooky ooky shit on the internet, go over and follow us on all them social media platforms. It's at Halloween is Forever. You'll find it. It's a little pixel pumpkin guy. Steve, I mentioned the Patreon. You want to tell the boys and ghouls what happens over on the Patreon, or you want to talk about beers first?
I don't have anything interesting with beers, so we can just talk a little bit Patreon if you want.
All right, you do that. I'm going to pour myself a little bit of a beer, and then I have a lovely beer to talk about.
Okay, that's good.
Although I just foamed the living shit out of the place here. Poured a little aggressively, but that's all right.
Well, you get it calmed down, you get some tastes in, and then you'll be ready. But yeah,
look at that. That's a handsome pour.
Ooh, that's a half and half. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you jump on the Patreon. We got all kinds of things for you. We got recos. We got reviews. We got a Discord that you jump on and you can chat with us. You can chat with the other people. You see episodes happen live. And then on top of all that, you get a monthly exclusive podcast called Youth Group is Forever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you sure as hell do. Well, Steve, once upon a time, when we decided to do this and start a Patreon, we somehow, just as a joke, I believe it was a psyop between, I think it was a choreographed effort between Steve and our perhaps even our listeners and also the federal government to try to drive me out of my wits, and also I think trying to steal my freedom. I don't know how yet, but they were treading all over me, guys. And what they did was they made me watch every single one of the Fast and the Furious movies, of which I had only seen the first one. And then we had to record a podcast talking about how these movies suck shit and are bad. And we did that, and now it's my turn. It's your boy's turn for a little revenge over here. So I'm making Steve watch weird right-wing propaganda horror movies every month, Christian horror movies particularly, but most of the time right-wing propaganda and Christian evangelical go hand in hand, and they absolutely do in the world of that subgenre of cinema. So we talk about what you're going to go to hell for, the normal things, right? Masturbation, obviously, coveting your neighbor's donkey, not slavery.
Not yet.
You don't go to hell for slavery. No, literally in the Bible. Don't worry about that. You don't go to hell for slavery, but you will go to hell for covering a donkey, and you will obviously go to hell for coveting your neighbor's wife and all that sort of thing. Also, in this series, you go to hell for liking someone else's cooking more than you like your grandma's cooking. You go to hell for being involved in reality television. You definitely go to hell for tricking a bunch of nerds into making a time machine to go back in time to 33 AD and assassinate Jesus.
Yeah. But weirdly, you don't go to hell for actually pulling the trigger and putting 2 in his brain.
Nope. Double tapping Jesus? Actually, not that big of a deal.
Yeah. It's all part of his plan,
forgivable.
actually. Strangely.
Yeah, actually, he planned that. We're talking about a movie that we did here, which is our September Patreon exclusive podcast episode of Youth Group is Forever. It is called, also Hoarding Porn Mags, for sure. Dan, one of our other friendly patrons in the Discord right now, that is absolutely. So to be clear, Hoarding Porn Mags, hell. Double tapping Jesus in the head.
No hell.
Not necessarily. But we did. That's not even kidding. We did a movie called Assassin 33 AD. Holy shit. It is bonkers. Bonkers. So if you're interested in listening to us talk about all that bullshit, go over to patreon.com/Halloween is Forever. You give us $5 a month, and you get all this fun stuff. Steve writes a bunch of fun reviews. And we do that extra podcast. You get extra votes in the Discord, or in the polls. And then obviously we're here in the you can be in the Discord with us. Our patron Ron said, assassin is pronounced ass in, which we should maybe consider producing a gay porn remake of it, where it is just, it's a Requiem for a Dream situation, right? It's the double-ended ass. Yeah,
but I mean, it can be both. It could be both.
It can be both. Let's not limit ourselves. Let's let our creativity run wild.
But if you're making a film called Ass
Requiem for a Cream, Ron. That's a hat on a hat, Ron.
Hat on a hat. Too much. But
Ron, that's a hat on a hat.
If you're making a porn film called Ass in 33 AD, then obviously the double tap is a little bit different. And you're going back to buttfuck Jesus. And that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot. I don't know how many people are going to produce that.
We're here for it. We got at least it'll be, a tight handful of us on premiere night. All right, guys, let's get into a couple beers. And then we got three quality movies to talk about, by the way. Mm-hmm. We killed it this year. We killed it this month. 3 really quality movies to talk about for a cold horror. Steve, I saw you drinking on a beer, and I think I recognize that beer because I think I drank 2-3 of them the other night.
Yeah.
Are you drinking on that Smoked Helles?
I'm drinking on that Smoked Helles from the Von Trapp Brewery. I already featured this on a previous episode. But
it's good, though.
Hey, guess what? This can's also good.
Yeah. Oh, man, it was so good. We actually, all the dogs just walked into the room along with one of my children. The newest member of the family, Big Raj. His name's Roger. We call him Big Raj. He's a golden retriever rescue. We rescued him from an Amish farm, and they were literally about to shoot him in the head, and he was horribly malnourished. And they don't treat the animals real well over there on the Amish farms, in case you're wondering. He just ate a piece of paper. He's the sweetest boy in the world. He's very scared of all the masks in my office, on my spooky office. He's very scared of all the masks. He never takes his eyes off them. Anyway, on Friday night, I drank a whole mess of those. I drank a whole 4-pack of those Helles.
Yeah.
It was Joe Bob did the night marathon. Did you watch any of it? It was a all nighter. It was like 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. 6-movie marathon.
No, I had a bunch of other stuff going on, so I didn't get the chance to sit down for it. I saw that they did Slumber Party Massacre, and they did, oh damn it, I wish I could remember the name because it's a Muscle Man in Hell.
Yeah. Bloody muscle bodybuilder in hell.
Yeah. That movie rules. It's so fucking fun.
It's so fun. I completely forgot. So my cousin and his fiance came over, and obviously my wife, who lives here with me, was here as well. And the 4 of us just drank and ate a bunch of junk food and watched watch the marathon. We got through 3 movies, which I was pretty pleased with us. We're all, actually my cousin's fiance is considerably younger than us, but the rest of us, we're approaching 40, and we were, we stayed up till like 3:30 in the morning. We watched the first 3 movies. It was a heck of a roller coaster. Cause like you said, they did Slumber Party Massacre first, which that's a bit of a darling movie. A lot of people like Slumber Party Massacre. Mm-hmm. I personally enjoy the movie, but I feel like every time I watch it, I'm like, this isn't very good. This is this is a very meh 80s, even amongst cheesy teen 80s slashers. It gets pretty boring. But there's some memorable characters, I think. And then obviously the driller killer. I mean, what are you going to do? A guy with a big drill. Memorable performance by the killer. And then they went right from that silliness into Where Evil Lurks, which is like, whoa. I mean, that is probably my favorite movie of last year.
Oh,
and holy balls, dude. I was the only one who had seen it. And my cousin, Josh, had seen Terrified. So he was familiar with, what's the filmmaker's name? He's fantastic. Argentinian guy.
Yeah. I can't remember his name offhand.
Or I can't want to say Ortega. It's not Ortega. Anyway, he's tremendous. And he had seen Terrified. So he kind of knew what to expect. But I was like, because I turned him on to Terrified. But I was like, no, this is intense.
That movie's so much stronger than Damien Rugna is his name.
Damien Rugna, not Ortega. Rugna. Yeah. Holy shit, dude. Damien, anybody with the name Damien. I'm Damien Leone, Damien Ortega. Like, I'm on board. They've become two of my favorite filmmakers. That movie, I forgot, because of course you got the build up to like the dog scene, right? That was big. But then I forgot about the scene. Spoiler alert here. Go ahead 30 seconds if you've not seen the movie. But the scene where they catch up with the mom and she's just walking there with the kid on the side of the road, just digging out his brains and eating him like a bucket of popcorn.
Yeah, just rooting in his head like a Pringles can.
Yeah, dude, up to the elbow.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That movie is intense. And then we were literally afterwards, we're like, fuck, we need a palate cleanser. And then Joe Bob did deliver and put on Bloody Muscle Bodybuilders in Hell. But I had watched that movie only one time years ago, and I forgot that it was shot in 8mm. And they were like, is this what the movie looks like the whole time? And I was like, I guess. I don't really remember that. Yeah. And then sure as hell, yeah, it's shot in 8mm.
It's partially shot in 8mm. And then there's a few 2-tree shots in there that are actually digital because he took.
Well, they finished it 17 years later, some crazy shit, right?
Yeah, because he started filming it shortly after like Evil Dead, because the film is basically like Evil Dead, and then
it's an Evil Dead ripoff.
It took him like 20 years to finish the film, and he finished it in 2010, I believe, and then so there's a couple 2-tree things in there that are digital. But overall, it's mostly like an 8mm, just one guy in a house being goofy with like all kinds of animatronics and stop motion shit, and it's like it's one of those just labor of love films. It's not the best, but it's interesting to watch.
It is. It keeps your attention. It's it is a drag at points certainly, but it's got some wacky visuals. A couple of really great performances. I think the director, editor, like head cinematographer and star of the movie is all the same guy, if I'm not mistaken. And then also the one thing that I completely not forgot, I didn't know until I saw the movie kind of get the Joe Bob treatment, which was that whenever he shot the whole thing, something happened where he lost all his footage and had to start all over again.
Mm-hmm.
So like that was a part of why this took 20 years too, or whatever. Is just like wacky fun story behind it. It's kind of like Deadbeat at Dawn or Mad God, where you appreciate the movie more knowing the crazy toil that went into completing it,
Yeah. I like it. I actually did a write-up for it last year for our October 31 Days of Horror.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, there's a write-up for that on the Patreon if you want to read a little bit more about it. And hey, it's coming back around, so I'll probably be writing about it again. Not that movie, but I'll be doing 31 Days of Horror again.
Yep, it is almost upon us. 'Tis almost upon us. Anyway, so we drank a whole bunch of beers. This was a heck of a roundabout way of getting to this, but we drank a bunch of beers, watched some movies on the old Joe Bob, and I drank a few of them Hellas, and boy, howdy were they good, especially with I had some freaking Flamin' Hot Ranch Doritos with the smoked Hellas. Oh my God, it was great. I am drinking, on the other hand, a beer that I came to the realization over the weekend that this is not only my favorite fest beer I have ever had, but I honestly would probably put this on my top 10 favorite beers of all time. This is especially this year's version of Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest is so fucking good. It is insulting to all other beers, all other American Oktoberfests. Like, and it is a fest beer, not necessarily an American style Oktoberfest. So it's a little paler, it's a little hoppier. But, and I know I'm talking about my personal preference here, but like technically speaking, it is a fucking perfect version of the beer of that style. But as far as my personal preference, like the balance of it, the dryness, the hop character, like this is a beer that I would drink probably every fucking single day of my life if it was available year round. Like this year they do the Gutmann, they do a different German brewery collaboration each year, and it's always tremendous. It's always the best American version of Oktoberfest out there with very, I mean, there's some other ones that are smaller breweries that have had that are really great, but like this is consistently incredible. They did Gutmann this year, and holy shit, this is the best version ever. And I am going to literally hoard it over the next couple of months. Like I'm going to probably go out and buy like 12 cases of it and just sit on it and drink it all winter long. It's so fucking good. I can't stand how good it is.
I can't wait to come over to your house in like May and just see like stacks of cases in the basement.
And this is the thing too. It's Sierra Nevada, who no one on planet Earth is better at putting beer in package than Sierra Nevada, right? They're dissolved auction, like everything. So I can buy it, keep it cold, and it'll still taste good in the spring.
Sure.
100%.
Yeah.
So I'm going to buy a separate chest fridge, just to fill with this beer. It's so fucking perfect. If you haven't blessed your gullet with this year's Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest Fest beer, go fucking buy it. It is honestly not fair. It's so good. It reminds me of that scene in Beer Fest. I know we were talking about Broken Lizard recently. That scene in Beer Fest where they brew the beer with the grandfather's recipe, and they're like, oh, "It's laughing at me." It's like, and they just have like this, like he's like, "I wish I could freeze it,
put it in ice cubes, so I could skate on it."
I want to freeze it into blocks and skate on it, and then thaw it in the spring and drink it. And he's like, I want to put my dick in it. Yeah. I want to put its dick in me. Yeah, it's literally, when I drink this beer, I think about that moment. Like, that's how fucking great this beer is. Anyway, I'll stop gushing. All right. Do we get into these motherfucking movies, Steven? Is that the plan?
Yes, we can do the movies now.
Okay, fine. I've gushed enough. All right. So I believe it's my choice, the order, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I think we do this because I think we have a little bit of a slobber knocker on our hands. At first, we were worried that this was going to be a runaway for the patrons, but I watched these movies all in the same day, and I was like, this is going to be a tight one. This is going to be a tight one. These are three really good quality movies. So just to remind everybody, we have our patrons, and I think, was this Ron's pick? The House of the Devil?
I believe it was Ron's pick, yes.
I think it was.
Yes.
Yes, Ron says it is. I believe his pick won on the Patreon wheel. So The House of the Devil from 2009, Ty West flick. And then I'm going to be doing A Dark Song from 2016. Steve's going to be talking about Starry Eyes from 2014. So we've got all pretty modern movies here within a decade of one another, within 5 years of one another. In any case, actually that's not true. 2016, I can't do math, but they're pretty tight window there. We're not going back. We're not doing, Suspiria or something like that. Would have been obviously another big pick, but
yeah, I felt that felt like an unannounced Meg Rail is what it yeah, we did. We do. Steve and I feel like Steve, you and I especially, as we get further in, we always feel like we have to go to like the third or fourth layer of the onion on a topic. But also that's symptomatic of us just having done a lot of episodes too at this point, I think. It's symptomatic of doing a lot of episodes, but it's also symptomatic of just like wanting to explore something that a bunch of other podcasts have, like, how many podcasts have already done Suspiria? in one form
you type
or
in
another. Gives a shit.
You type in Suspiria to Apple Podcasts, there's 700 people talking about it. But like, or is everybody talking about, a dark song or something, or Starry Eyes or whatever? Anyway, so we'd like to dig a little deeper, but I think this is a pretty evenly matched one. I'm going to say that we start out also because I'm going to be the one talking about the Patreon pick, and just to break up you having to hear my voice, let's do House of the Devil first. And then Steve, you do Starry Eyes, and then I'll bring it up the rear with that was an inelegant way of saying that. I will finish it off with a dark song. How's that?
Sure. That
was not thoughtful and not demure the way that I said that just now. Just to timestamp our fucking podcast of like, that's a thing people are doing now. I actually don't know what that means, and I have not seen the original video.
I don't know what it means. It's like it's touched my social media feed.
Yeah,
I have not bothered to learn anything of what it means. Like I have
not looked up. Yeah.
I saw somebody share a meme of like, it's all the horror, like kind of the horror killers on the phone with each other.
I saw that. Yeah.
They're just like, I was being very thoughtful.
Like Freddy, Jason, Michael. Yeah. And
Scream
Ghostface.
Yeah. And they're like, I was being very thoughtful, very demure. I was like, I don't know what this means. I just keep scrolling. It's like, what is this?
Literally one of the announcers on like college, I was watching a college football game yesterday, referenced it. And I'm like, what the fuck? What is the problem?
What is this? I'm not learning. Yeah. What is this?
By the way, just to give you an idea of where my head's at going into this movie, I'm watching American Werewolf in London, and the Nazi werewolf gun slit throat, set fire to the house scene just happened. I forgot how great it is. And then she comes out of the shower, and then like he wakes up, and then she gets stabbed, and he wakes up again. God, I love this movie. All right. Let's get into House of the Devil from 2009. This is definitely the most well-known of the and the oldest, for that matter, of movies that we're going to cover this week on occult horror. Maybe we should take a quick second to kind of reiterate what we talked about in terms of occult horror. I think my super distilled definition of occult horror is like we think of it has to have a cult, which not necessarily. I think broadly, I distilled it down to the idea of like some sort of themes around like forbidden knowledge, whether it be like, and there's usually some sort of old world, pagan or old god kind of ritualistic tie into it. Not always.
Right.
But this is a subgenre that also ties in very closely with weird fiction. It also ties in very closely with, even more specifically, with cosmic horror.
Sure.
But it is, it's usually about some sort of old, archaic knowledge that either is being passed down or trying to be understood or something like that, and that manifests itself in the area of like occult rituals, occult learnings, occult books, occult theology, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Not just archaic, but also like esoteric.
That's the better word.
In the way like it sits outside of the norm. So like, to learn anything in an occult film, you're going to find yourself outside of normal society at one point or another.
Yes, very much so. Esoteric is it usually has some like H, but esoteric is, I think, an important distinction here. So that's kind of where our heads were at when we selected this movie. So House of the Devil is the most well-known one, like I said, for sure, of these three. This was really on the front edge of the whole like throwback nostalgia tribute stuff. So obviously in the mainstream, we had things like Stranger Things that really brought the 80s nostalgia to the forefront. But it's become almost an entire not even genre. It's like it's an huge overarching aesthetic in horror right now and in pop culture at large. But House of the Devil was the first one to, I think, really do it, pretty seriously, not just from the way they're dressing and maybe get a needle drop. This really has a feel that this is happening in, I'm going to say late 70s, early 80s. I'm going to say, honestly, in my head, I'm thinking it's like 1981. You know what I mean?
Close enough. It's actually 83. So you got close.
Oh, it is. It does specify when it's set.
Yeah. On IMDb, it says it's in 1983. Okay. So, yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yep, didn't realize that. Yeah, and Ty West, who is now very, very well known, would be at the time quite a bit less well known. He is now by far both most well known for directing Pearl. The what do they call it? The Pearl trilogy, Pearl X and Maxine.
I guess maybe it's more the Maxine trilogy because Maxine's in X and Maxine.
That's true.
So I don't know.
Yeah, she is Maxine by the time she's in X.
Yeah. Maybe you just call it the West Goth trilogy because it's Mia Goth and Ty West. So yeah.
Yeah, but he's done a bunch of stuff. He did an episode of the short-lived Exorcist series from 2017. Has established himself as one of the probably most well-known Scream TV series. Even before this, he did, I guess Cabin Fever 2 was pretty much simultaneous with this. They were both in 2009. He did a segment VHS, ABCs of Death. I think at this point, pretty much everyone knows who Ty West is. He's pretty well respected director, genre director. This has an interesting cast, a small cast, not as wildly small as mine, but pretty small cast. Jocelyn Donahue. I had it in my head, and I think she is such a big part of the success of this film, because not that it was a huge box office success or anything, quite a small production, limited theatrical release, but it has become a bit of a darling among genre fans. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I've ever heard anybody say anything bad about this movie. People really love it. I'm going to say it has a rabid fan base, but it absolutely has become a bit of a darling. And I think so much of it is attributed to Jocelyn Donahue's performance as Samantha. And in my mind, she had gone on to do a bunch of other bigger projects. And in reality, she really hasn't necessarily. I mean, she was in Dr. Sleep, and she played a smaller character. She actually played the younger version of Lorraine. What's her fucking name? Who's the weird couple that are real life, that are in the Insidious franchise.
Fuck.
Lorraine,
what is it?
Fred and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens.
There you go. Why can't I ever
she plays
remember
the young.
that?
I know, because they're fucking grifters. Fuck them.
Right.
But she plays the young version of Lorraine Warren. But otherwise, she really hasn't, blown up in a big way, which is surprising because you just can't take your eyes off of her in this movie. She plays this. First of all, she's a very, I don't know how else to say it. It doesn't sound kind of weird, but she's just very, she plays this very kind of cute underdog college girl. You know what I mean? Where you just want to root for her. I mean, she makes some dumb decisions. She classic horror trope, dumb stuff, but you just really root for her. She's just she's gorgeous. It's hard to keep your eyes off of her. And she just keeps your attention, I think, for a variety of reasons. And then veteran actor Tom Noonan plays Mr. Ullman. And Tom Noonan has been in... Oh, go ahead.
Just before we move on from her, she is in a film that just came out called The Last Stop in Yuma County.
I saw that. I haven't heard anything about it, but...
It's the new film that also stars Jim Cummings from the Wolf of Snow Creek Hollow that we did on this show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the new film that he's in, and like the two of them are the most prominent in the film for the most part.
They're very similar performers.
Yeah.
Very charismatic. You know, you again can't keep your eyes on both very good-looking young individuals too. That also, well, I'm sure they're a little less young than they were in 2009, and you know, whenever Wolf of Snow Hollow came out. But yeah.
But then Richard Brake and Barbara Crampton are also in that film, and so
there you go.
Dude, the film is top to bottom just killer. It's not a horror film. It's more of a kind of like a throwback to like 90s Tarantino crime style films. Mm-hmm. So it's very much more in that range. You'll get like Tarantino and Rodriguez vibes from it. But yeah, it's a great film. So check that out if you want to see more from like another good performance by Jocelyn.
Yeah, I will, because I really love her in this movie. And I mean, just talking about the Tarantino kind of, you know, somebody who does a great job of throwing back to a very specific, not just an era, but an era of film, like the aesthetic of an era of film. You know, I think that was probably one of the first people I can remember watching a movie and going like, oh, they are trying to make a 70s exploitation movie. They're trying to make a, you know what I mean, something like that. And Ty West definitely took, I would find it very hard to believe that Ty West didn't take some inspiration from Tarantino in that way with this movie, because he is making a, late 70s, early 80s, you know, occult exploitation movie. I mean, they actually start the movie with a, you know, text blurb about the satanic panic of the 80s.
Right.
Late 70s or into the 80s. We'll talk about that aesthetic a little bit more because he really, really nails it. So a couple things here that I'm just learning about Tom Noonan, who I know from Schenectady, New York, RoboCop 2, great fucking villain. He's like the villain in RoboCop 2. He plays Kane, and he's fucking fantastic. He is I would dare to say, what is the guy that Steven Dorff plays in Blade? I keep forgetting his name. We just talked about it last week.
Deacon Frost.
Okay. I would say Tom Noonan is the Deacon Frost of the RoboCop universe. Is that fair to say, Steve? As the resident RoboCop aficionado, would you take that?
I guess maybe.
He's just cool. Like he's the mean, sexy, mean villain. I mean, I know he's not Deacon Frost sexy. He's like a little bit of like a weird occultist. He kind of plays an occultist in that movie too. But I don't know. I remember like he is the character I remember first from RoboCop 2.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, he surely is the character you remember the most. It's just like, I don't know that you can compare the two, really. It feels... RoboCop 2 has so much in common with RoboCop 1 that it feels like...
Yeah.
Like, Clarence Boddicker is such a standout villain in RoboCop 1. And then you can kind of distill Boddicker down with Dick Jones into being Kane in 2. So, like...
Sure.
Yeah, so I don't know.
One's more institutional. One's more like, you know, outside the system kind of thing. But anyway, Tom Noonan is great. He was in 8-Legged Freaks. He has been in a lot. He was in Heat. I remember seeing him pop up in the X-Files back in the day. He's been in a bunch of stuff. But he was in Manhunter. Holy crap. But that's
the one I gotta suggest people maybe go back and rewatch is Manhunter, which is like it's the Red Dragon film in the Hannibal Lecter series before Red Dragon, before Anthony Hopkins was Dr. Lecter. Manhunter was directed by Michael Mann and has Brian Cox as Hannibal Lecter, and Tom Noonan plays the Ralph Fiennes Red Dragon role of Francis Dollarhide. And like he's such a weird creep in that film, putting like pantyhose over his head and shit like that. Like, I got to go back and rewatch it. It's been a while since I've seen that film, but like, yeah, Tom Noonan sticks out in that film.
Yeah, it's been probably 15 years since I saw Manhunter, but I have it on VHS. I'm looking at it right now. I just bought a big new shelf that I put together from Amazon with all my VHSs on, and I'm looking at Manhunter right now, as I remember seeing it and going, "Oh, I just watched fucking Noonan." Here's what a lot of genre film fans will know him from. He played Frankenstein, or Frankenstein's monster, I guess I should say, in Monster Squad. So for all you dorks who love dwarfs, all you dorks who love Monster Squad as much as I do, he is Frankenstein. Obviously a different type of role, but you might be able to pick out his face. He's got a lot of prosthetics and stuff on, but from Monster Squad. Some other people who you may recognize that pop up here and there, but I will call out as Mrs. Ullman. I think her name's Victoria in the movie. The great Mary Warnoff, who she's been in. I mean, she's genre film royalty, but for me, her most recognizable, like her most memorable role is in that first couple minutes of Chopping Mall. I don't know why. I just always think about her in that first, just being the snarky people in the audience when they're demonstrating the robots. But she's in Eating Raoul, Death Race 2000. Come on.
That's Calamity Jane. That's mine.
Yeah, she's got to be very young in 1975 for Death Race 2000. Rock and Roll High School, Night of the Comet. Good Lord. She has 124 acting credits, and honestly, almost all of them are genre films. I mean, not 100% of them, but so many of them. She is just absolute royalty in the genre film genre. In terms of
genre film genre.
Yeah, I would like to say genre film in the genre of genre films. Okay. So, anything else before we get into the plot here, Steve, you want to call out?
Yeah, Greta Gerwig.
Oh, yes, of course. Yep. and Dee Wallace, for that matter, too. She plays a short moment. Dee Wallace, who's also genre film royalty in she plays does she own the house?
She's like a landlady.
She's renting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure if she was like a realtor or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Greta Gerwig, the director of the Barbie film, it gets her fucking head blown off in this movie. It's like, it's one of the like kind of sillier castings that I can think of recent memory, of like somebody who is in a very specific dark role, and then like she's probably close to a billionaire at this point. Who knows? Who fucking knows? But like she's one of the most famous directors at this point, because she went on to direct, Barbie, of course, but then also like Lady Bird, which I also think is an Oscar nominated film. And so it's just a funny casting. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I went past her and I recognized her face, and I completely missed that was the Barbie writer director. And also, hey guys, by the way, directed the Dua Lipa Dance the Night music video. That's big. Yeah, I'm trying to listen. Like, I don't know a lot about her. I mean, obviously I've heard of her with the Barbie film. It was a huge box office success. Eden, I'm trying to see, like, she's a bit of a blind spot for me. I mean, most of her stuff isn't probably going to cross into your world unless your wife brings it to you, I think.
Yeah.
Just like she is known as one of the preeminent kind of feminist writer-directors at this point. Let's see, Frances Ha was pretty big because of that, and then she directed a Little Women kind of, I don't want to say remake because there's multiple versions of that film, but she directed like a version of Little Women in 2019.
Gotcha.
If you're into that kind of stuff, you'll be into her because she's very good at it. But,
yeah,
if you're not, then you're not. It's not your bag.
Yeah, she's great in this movie too, and she's like, she plays the kind of she has a couple funny scenes. She plays the kind of fun best friend of Samantha, Megan, which we'll talk about here in a quick sec. Anyway, I did not look this up, but it does start out by saying that it's based on true unexplained events, but I don't know what that means.
It just means they can put that in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, historically, a lot of people have put that in based upon an extremely loose parameters. I know, when they talked about Texas Chainsaw Massacre being based on true events, I think they were referring to Ed Gein, which is like, boy, that's quite a stretch.
Ron had it right on the head. Something like this probably happened somewhere. Probably.
Yeah, it could have it is possible that this happened. So like when you put an incredibly vague statement in there like that, it can be justified, I guess. But yeah, this is very much based on those satanic exploitation movies of the late 70s, early 80s. We start out, you get a great title sequence. Actually, even before the title sequence is when you get Samantha, and she is trying to find a place. You get I think, like we said, she was the landlady, Debbie. Oh my God, why is her name escaping me? I moved off the page. Debbie Wallace.
D. Wallace.
D. Wallace, not Debbie. I think, is it Deborah? I think D. Wallace. Is it short for Deborah? Maybe not. which is short for Deborah. I don't know. I'm making that up. She is the landlady, and she's cutting Samantha a break because she's like, hey, this is a young college girl, I'm gonna get her into this house a little cheaper, blah blah blah, but she's still kind of overstretched financially, right? So she does cut her a break, but she needs money to pay the rent, basically. So now we get that famous like pull out shot of her crossing the street with that cool little guitar riff, and then the music starts to ramp up, which I think, boy, if something doesn't kind of get you psyched up to watch the end of the rest of the movie, I don't know what will, especially if you do enjoy late 70s, early 80s exploitation type of horror films. Also, first time watching it since Longlegs, and it's giving me Longlegs vibes. That the color, the font even of the title sequence or title screen. Yeah. She applies for this babysitting gig that she finds a flyer for on campus. The guy calls her and doesn't pick up, or they talk, and then she calls him from a payphone. It's right off the bat, it's kind of weird. Like there's a little bit of a who is somebody might be watching her, or you get the indication early on as the audience that perhaps that might be happening. But you get Ullman, which is Tom Noonan, right off the bat, and part of his performance is so great, so creepy, but it's also wonderful casting because his voice is honestly as creepy as his physical appearance, as this big, tall. Obviously, they make him look a lot taller than he actually is. But his voice of that like weirdly reassuring, but in a creepy way, affectation on his voice is so unnerving.
Yeah, it is such a unpleasant way of talking to people because it doesn't sound like he has any confidence in his voice, and he's very soft. But also, there's almost like a command to it of like, I need somebody tonight. I just like he sounds kind of pathetic, but also demanding at the same time. It's very weird.
Soft like desperation combined with they don't match the words he's saying.
Right. I also like how you're saying calling on the payphone feels weird. And it feels weird to us because we remember payphones. I wonder how this plays to like younger audiences who never even experienced a payphone, to where like, are they just like, is this what happened back then? Is this the way it was? Like, it's like, do you just put calls to strangers all the time?
Yeah. Payphones are, because a payphone has a number. Like there's a specific number to ring that payphone. So no one ever, it was primarily used only for outgoing calls. So for someone to call a payphone would have been quite strange. But that might be lost on. It's probably lost on a younger generation for sure.
Yeah.
Samantha stops at her dorm. Really, this is just to show the desperate state that Samantha is in. Not only because she just committed to pay for a house that she doesn't have the money for, but also not only her roommate is just kind of a piece of shit and a slob and very inconsiderate, but also her roommate's boyfriend is a creep. So she's just trying to get the fuck up out of there, right? I assume she lives in the dorms or in some sort of campus housing, and her roommate sucks. So they were like, "Hey, come on over and meet at one of the campus buildings." Ullman tells her that they'll meet, but then he's a no-show. So pretty bummed. She's off eating pizza with Megan. And
before we get too deep, they're just talking about Ty West's way of reconstructing a film that feels like it's from the 80s and 70s. Like kind of in this transition, as Samantha's waiting, he does this long, slow zoom into the clock tower as the clock tower is striking its chimes. And it's such a filler shot. But because he's moving the camera and the lens, it actually feels like, look, we're intentionally filming the clock right now because we need to put something into the film. We need to fill it up a little bit. And also we just think it's cool to film the clock tower. But it just helps build that kind of, what is it? I don't want to say rapport, but it builds kind of that trust in the audience. Like, hey, what you're watching here is a little bit more old school than what you're used to.
Yeah, it's kind of showing. I'm struggling to think of a way to say it as well, but it's kind of like just showing the reality of her situation. You know what I mean? It's like we didn't have cell phones and have instant messages. She just had to fucking deal with it, suck it up, and hang out there until she decided that she was going to give up on the whole thing. Anyway. Off eating pizza with Megan, cool little pizza shop, retro pizza shop scene. She's kind of displaying that she's a little desperate. Megan is a little bit more like laissez-faire attitude type of thing. And she is basically asking her for a ride also out to the spot where they're going to do a little babysitting, she believes. She goes back to her room. Her shitbag roommate takes a message. It was from Ullman. And that is where they get even a little bit more of a creepy discussion where you're really starting to see his desperation. Megan does take Samantha out to this big old house way on the outskirts of town, middle of nowhere. They're talking about how they're listening to on the radio. Later on, you see a TV. I think a couple times, even at this point, you've seen a TV broadcast about how there's this big eclipse that's happening, big lunar eclipse. And who really digs eclipses, right? Weird fucking pagan murders. So it's the middle of nowhere. Megan's very creeped out about the whole thing. They go up to the door. Megan's like, "I'm going to stay with you." And Samantha's a little bit, I don't know, but let's see how it goes. They meet Ullman. First of all, they do a great job of showing that he's like 7 foot fucking tall. Like he's crazy tall. He's not, the performer's not really that tall, but they do a realistic job of showing that he's super tall. Unlike the Tony Todd tallness in whatever movie we were talking about. What movie did we do recently where like he was staring at the outside of the door frame?
Oh,
he was in it for like 2 seconds.
Oh, Penance. That's what it was.
Penance. Yeah, that movie stunk. Anyway, he's 7 foot tall and weird as fuck, which is a bad combination. Yeah. And he's speaking very cryptically. He's very interested in the eclipse. He's talking about his wife and they have a grown son and blah, blah, blah. He's very interested in the whole eclipse thing. He's walking with a cane too, so you're not really sure if you should be worried about him like physically or not. But he takes her to the other room and he's trying to like separate her from Megan. He's like, I can't pay both of you basically. And she's like, oh, that's okay. But she's leaving anyway. So he's very relieved that Samantha says Megan isn't staying, which is again not a good sign. Meanwhile, Megan is just out this is the funny scene I mentioned. She's just standing out in the living room, just like eating weird, creepy, unwrapped hard candies from a candy dish. and she's like, the first one she eats is like gross. She's like spitting it out, wiping her tongue off. But then she goes and eats another one, which is just such a funny, as like a impulsive eater. Like I could see myself doing that. Like,
sure,
I can't let that candy sit there. I'm going to eat it, you know? Ullman then kind of explains it's not babysitting. It's actually watching his wife's mother. And he like apologized. She's creeped out right away that he lied about the whole thing, but he's like very desperate and, you know, says like, I don't think anybody would have answered if I would have said it was for like watching an old person, but he offers a bunch of money. He's like, originally it was going to be $50. Then he was like, I'll double it. It's $100. Now he's like, I'll give you $300 and $100 an hour basically. And she, in a show of maybe her true, like, this is the part I remember when I watched the movie the first time when I was like, okay, something bad's going to happen to her, because she takes this like opportunistic approach and says 400,
right?
You know, which is kind of like she knows she has him over a barrel and she really exploits him, gouges him even more.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that's a bad thing, but in a movie like that gets you doomed, you know?
Yeah. That seals your fate. Because at that point, like, she's definitely committed to doing the job and staying in the house. And the house is where all the bad things are happening. I don't know if she checked the title, but it's called The House of the Devil. She should have.
Yeah, no, she did.
She should have checked that out. But, you know, so yeah, she's doomed herself, but also like she's done a bad thing. So now, but you know, like, hey, she went to this giant mansion where a 7-foot creep lives. And even though there's a 7-foot creep in the house, all his doors are like 12 foot tall. So it's a huge fucking house. Like for that time, it would be incredibly impressive to live there.
Huge craftsman style home, like lots of, you know, you would imagine a very wealthy family would have built this house in like the mid to late 19th century, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe early 20th, but it is a big, beautiful craftsman style home. Megan is very pissed right off the bat. She's like, you agreed to do this. He lied. This is fucking creepy. This is all too good to be true. But Samantha has just got blinders on because she can't stop talking about how she can't stop thinking about how she needs this money. Megan does agree to come back at 12:30 to pick her up. So that's where they leave things. Next, we have one of the most memorable scenes in the movie for me, which is, it's a little confusing. It's a little, I don't know, lame, but at the same time it's the most, I remember just being really surprised the first time I saw it, is Megan driving down the kind of lane from the house and being very stressed out because of Samantha's behavior and her commitment to stay there. And she's trying to light a cigarette while driving, and she pulls over so she's struggling to light a cigarette, and her cigarette lighter won't work. And she rolls down her window for some reason, and all of a sudden a hand sticks in and with a lighter and starts lighting her cigarette. Of course, she's very startled by this. Some just stranger. He looks like a pretty normal guy, but he's a little bit sketchy in the sense that you think he's maybe like some like homeless dude walking on the street or whatever. She's being a jerk to him because, of course, he just like snuck up on her, but she's also like being very trusting of him, which is a weird dynamic. And he is being a little bit of a creep. And then he says something about like, wait, you're not the babysitter? And she's like, no, I was just dropping my friend off. And before she could even stop the sentence, he just pops her in the head. He pulls out this big ass like .357 revolver. It just pops her in the head, just explodes her face all over the fucking interior of the car. And then just like very calmly opens the door because she just had her foot on the brake, so the car starts coasting away, and he like gets in and stops the car from coasting like very calmly after just like seemingly out of nowhere, just blowing your fucking head off.
Yeah.
So something is up. At this point, you were like, well, maybe he's not creepy. Maybe he's just normal. And even at this point, you're like, oh God, does this person have something to do with the house, with the omens? Like, you're not really sure, but obviously, there's some pretty serious danger afoot here.
It's the introduction of danger, and it also has like it's a kind of a great bit of timing, because the thing that happens when people try to remake or just ape the aesthetic of films from the 70s and 80s, especially exploitation films, is like they usually go way too overboard, and like everything is in neon and there's a huge synth soundtrack, and that just didn't really happen that much. But the other thing that you have to avoid is a lot of 70s and 80s exploitation is fucking boring, and it doesn't have anything happen until like an hour in.
Yeah.
So this film has like two pieces of like really decent, imagery. It has there's clues throughout, but like, the two strong images of danger that make you go, oh, and then you go, okay. But then, it breaks up waiting for the big denouement, the big set piece at the end. So you're not totally bored throughout.
No, you're right about that. It does start out with this. I mean, we're not that far into the movie and we're getting this, which is great. And I think that helps it a lot. But I will be honest, this is the first time I watched this movie with a little bit more of a really committed critical eye. And I will say, after this, for the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it does drag. It does drag more than I remember.
Yeah. It still drags. And it's like my big criticism of the film too. But at the same time, like, it could have dragged more. It could have been like a real 70s, 80s exploitation that like nothing happens.
Nothing happens for 35 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Ron called another good thing in the Discord here, which is the killer, who you have no idea who he is. He's unmasked, regular looking, college age looking dude. After he shoots her, he also finishes her cigarette, which tells you two things, or one of two things, depending. Either one, he is just absolutely insane. Two, this is very premeditated, or most likely both, right?
Yeah.
So again, it has a lot of you're taken aback for sure. Back to the house, Samantha hears Ullman arguing with his wife upstairs, and the house is so quiet, and the music for the majority of the movie, or at least for the first like half of the movie, is very subtle, and it really adds to the mood. It does a great job of adding to the mood. The wife then comes up from the basement, and you're like, wait. If in Samantha, you're kind of along for the ride, but Samantha is saying, hey, wait, I thought he was just arguing with her upstairs. How's she coming out of the basement? And she's like, well, I was looking for my furs. By the way, the wife, Vivian, not Victoria, I said earlier, Vivian is played by Mary Warnoff. And Vivian is creeping on Samantha, like really sexually aggressive kind of with her right off the bat, like really talking a lot about how pretty she is and touching her. It's really weird. The Ullmans do ultimately leave after being weird more, and they're very insistent that she order pizza. So she does. Well, first she calls Megan, who doesn't answer, and Megan's got the like, hello? Just kidding, I'm not here, like that old thing that people used to do in their voicemail. I had a friend that did that. I wanted to murder him. But she calls Megan, doesn't answer. Obviously, we know Megan just got her brain shot out. But she orders pizza, and then she proceeds to just lurk around the fucking house. She knows that the mom is upstairs. She hasn't seen the mom. They really reiterated that, like, hey, she's independent. She's able-bodied. You don't have to help her with anything. It's just to be there if there's an emergency. But also, she's very private, so you probably won't see her. But you know she's around. And for some reason, Samantha feels the need to just, I can only describe it as lurk everywhere around the house and just be nosy. And I'm like, what are you doing? Just sit down and read a book. Like, what are you going to go smell their underwear? Like, fucking chill out. Like, I remember in high school, I used to, go babysit occasionally. You just sit in the room and watch TV and like fucking drink, eat all their snacks. Like, don't creep around the house, Also, this is just poor judgment. Never trust a person who has a harpsichord just on the first floor of their house, just like on display. That's not good. This movie is, I will admit, like, it is a slow burn, and I have no issue with a slow burn. But after that initial Megan getting blasted shit, like, this is where it really starts to drag. Mm-hmm. And that's very sparse piano soundtrack, which is great at first, starts to get a little annoying and repetitive as well. I noticed this time around. I don't know if you felt that way or not, but I did.
No, the soundtrack doesn't bother me too much. Yeah, but yeah, all of this action just drags until she decides like she's going to do a pool hall montage with her
weird
with her earphones. Like, yeah, okay, then it's like, okay, it's getting your energy back up because it knows it's just been like creep central for the last. And there's nothing that actually adds to the scare factor of anything happening because, yes, we know that there's this gun-toting possible son of Sam-like murderer out there, but we don't see him again until, Pizza shows up. So...
yeah, at this point, we have nothing to indicate that he's in the house. The cinematography is great. I love that like pull away shot from those rear bay windows and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, I do like all that stuff. But it's just otherwise we're like, well, what's happening? We're just watching her walk slowly around the house and like, look in all the rooms.
Yeah. Wes does a good job of using like all the angles and the fact like this is an old house, so it's not an open concept. There's nowhere to hide. Mm-hmm. He uses a lot of the angles in the door jams and like using the doorways themselves to kind of collapse the frame of what you can see. Mm-hmm. Like you even get that at the beginning of the film where you're just looking through a door and it slowly turns to the side to reveal somebody staring out a window. So like, yeah, he does a great job with the architecture, but it's only so long that you can keep looking at these creepy angles without something being behind one of them.
Yeah, at that point you just assume nothing's there. You hear on the she turns on the TV. We hear from the news that like midnight is the peak of the full lunar eclipse. She has the Walkman dance party that we just talked about, where she's just doing a little dancing with her Walkman all around the place. I'm like, did she forget someone else is here? Like, obviously someone can hear. She's like jumping on the couch. It's a little much. Yeah. I understand they're trying to make it feel a little much because it felt very right in what they were going for. You know what I mean? But she ends up breaking a vase. And, so now you're getting a little bit of dread there. Oh, she's going to tell them what's going to happen. You feel that she's very vulnerable because of her financial situation, as well as, her being there by herself and then the creepiness of the Ullmans. She then finds a bunch of fur coats upstairs, not in the basement where Mrs. Ullman said they would have been. And then she finds another photo of the family in front of the house, which you're like, oh, that could have been the old family, that owned the house before, but they have the exact same car that the Ullmans drove away in. So now you're like, oh, wait, what happened here? How does that, So of course we're thinking, wait, did these people just come in and like kill the family and take over their house kind of situation? There's also a creepy van parked out back. And they said they're just going into town. They say they just got into town and they're here for the eclipse. So you're like, wait, you just got into town? It's just all these things are starting to paint a kind of sketchy picture.
Yeah, the house is
shit ain't adding up.
Yeah, the house is too lived in, and like you said, like they drove away in this Volvo that Megan pointed out when they first arrived. she's like, oh, look, a Volvo, the safest cars around. Burr, burr, burr. You know, so like it's supposed to be a thing that sticks in your mind. And then she finds a picture of like this other family with the Volvo. And it's like, well, hey, now, wait a minute. Now, that ain't right.
Yeah. We see that there's a pair of boots walking around outside. So we're like, hey, is that our dude from earlier? Obviously, Megan isn't answering the phone. She keeps calling her. She's getting worried, but we know that Megan's brains got exploded. Now things are certainly creepy at this point, but it seems a bit early to wield a knife. Maybe that's just me. Like, we know it's not, but for all Samantha knows, it's just like creepy, kind of a creepy family. You came out here on your own volition.
Right.
Yeah, they have a weird van in the backyard. Yeah, this whole thing is kind of sketchy, but like, is it time to walk around the house with a knife? I would argue that there's never a time to walk around the house with a knife. Just literally fuck off. You know what I mean? Just fuck off out the door and never come back. But she starts hearing some business upstairs. Again, stay downstairs or literally just fuck off out the door and never come back. But she starts looking around the house with the knife. And we see that her behavior is justified. But for all she knows, I don't know that it actually is, which is a little weird. We see that the family who used to live there, including a little kid, have been ritualistically murdered on the other side of one of the doors. Like, literally, the kid's got like a pentagram carved in his chest. So shit's not cool. And she is correct to wield a knife, but she also would be more correct to fuck off, you know?
Yeah.
So
more correct to just leave the situation.
Yeah. So her motivations are a little weak as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I wanted to point out
that's only because of what we know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's only because of what we know. Like, yeah. So yeah, it doesn't quite line up, but I don't know, maybe she's just an anxious person. Who knows?
Yeah, it's fine. It's just walking around with a butcher knife is like a pretty weird reaction.
Yeah.
On a couple of levels.
True. Just something I wanted to point out and like call to. I don't know how actually tied this is, but it made a connection in my brain when I was watching it. Is we see this family, they're ritualistically murdered in like a pentagram type symbol, and they're in a room, and the room is carpeted. And
yes.
There's a line Megan says at the earlier part of the film when they're at the pizza parlor and they're talking about like the new house Samantha's going to move into. And Megan's asking, is it hardwood floors or carpet? And Samantha says, it's hardwood. And Megan goes, oh, great. Carpet is filth. And I was just like I don't know why it made the connection, because you see this bloody, filthy carpet. I was just like, carpet is filth. It's filth carpet.
Yeah. Carpet's gross. Let's be honest. Carpet's gross. So the pizza shows up, and we don't see the face at first, but it is the guy who shot Megan. And she like, hey, leave the change, grabs the pizza, runs inside. He just kind of hangs around outside smoking. So he's still he's up to no good. She starts eating the pizza, watching TV. Something weird about the pizza, and she tastes it, and actually goes and like rinses out her mouth. It doesn't taste right. And she cannot stop lurking. She lurks upstairs. She finds a bunch of big chunks of hair in the upstairs bathtub, like different colors and textures of hair. Like a lot of people had cut their hair into the bathtub. It was obviously a weird thing to find. She can't resist the attic for some dumb reason, because you got to go towards the weird noises, right? But the whole house goes like the power goes out when she tries to turn on the light to the attic. This happens just as the eclipse happens, and someone comes to that attic door that she's kind of sitting outside of, or walking outside, just to the exterior of. She just stands there as some like fingers wrap around the door, And then she starts feeling really loopy, like drugged, right? So obviously there was something in the pizza. Stumbles back downstairs, and then the final act of the movie, I will say, is much faster, but still a lot of suspenseful lurking. Like this, you know what I mean? Like leading up to this. But then the last few minutes go pretty quick.
Lurking. Pool hall. Lurking with a knife. Lurking.
Yeah. So she comes to, and there's a strobe light. And well, we get the strobe light effect, but it's kind of her coming back into consciousness. And she's tied to the floor. There's a pentagram, candles everywhere. Like, you're in full on the satanic ritual, right? So the whole family rolls in. So we have Mr. and Mrs. Ullman, and then we've got what we assume is the son, because Mr. Ullman does mention that they don't have any kids, but they have a grown son. So I think we assume that this is him. I think I even looked at IMDb. It is something Ullman is his name.
Yeah.
There's also a weird potato face woman, and we're not really sure who Potato Face is, but we assume that's Mother, that she was supposed to be watching upstairs.
Sure.
Mother comes over, draws a pentagram on Samantha's belly and blood. You know, she puts a whole like ghost skull on it and then slits her own wrist and fills the goat skull, like the little cranium cavity, with blood. And then, you know, draws some more on Samantha's forehead. Ultimately makes Sam do like a goat luge of blood.
Hell yeah.
It's like an ice luge shot, but it's a goat luge. It like shoots down through the goat's like nasal cavity and into her mouth, I guess. I don't know. Pretty gross. Sam does get free, slaps Granny, which is kind of funny, goes on a straight up stabbing spree and just starts fucking stabbing everyone, stabs Mr. Ullman, runs downstairs, slips on a giant pool of blood, and is face to face with Megan's like exploded face. They brought her in the house. The son, again, we assume the son, does have a gun, chases Sam and eventually shoots her, like non-fatal. I think it's in the shoulder or something. Right when he's about to finish her off, Sam just slashes his throat with the knife and runs upstairs. Meanwhile, you know, Sam's she's all fucked up. She's getting very pale. She's seeing these like weird, like Pazuzu style flashes of like the demon Granny in her face, like you're like Captain Howdy style. You're like, is this the drugs? Did they do something to her when she was out? We don't really know. Obviously, we get the idea the ritual is really starting to take hold at this point. Mary Warnoff's character comes up, sees the son's dead, chases her, and then she's kind of got her, it's seemingly dead to rights because Samantha's like all drugged and loopy. And Mary Warnoff is like praying to, I don't know, Satan or a demon or whatever. And then Sam just comes up behind her and stabs her in the back.
Yeah.
And it's like, why'd you take her eyes off her? I don't know why. I guess she'd done this enough times to think she was.
Yeah. She thought she'd won or whatever.
Immobilized. Yeah.
Samantha fights like a real heel in this last section here because
she does.
It starts when she's escaping the basement and the son, I think his name's Victor. The son Victor tries to stop her, and she goes for a great muda by spraying blood mist in his eyes, but that doesn't quite work. So she goes full Ric Flair and gouges an eye.
She does do an eye gouge.
Yeah.
Only thing better is she would have went when he turned around. She had Jeff Jarrett's guitar just pow right over the head.
Kapow. Wish she would have gotten Mr. Ullman with that, but then Vivian's at the window. She's, playing to the crowd as a baby face would, and then plow right from behind, stabbed.
Yeah. Just stabs her in the back. She stumbles downstairs. Samantha does. Calls 911, but her brain is already kind of broke. So you're like, oh, what's happening? She can't talk. Everything's all fucked up. She stumbles outside and Mr. Ullman chases her into a graveyard, and he's leaking like bad, right? So he's in bad shape. She done stabbed him in the belly. Ullman tries to like calm her down and have a whole convo with her, and she's telling her that she's chosen or whatever, and he chose you for this, and it's too late, and blah blah blah. She points the gun at him, and he's like, whatever, kill me, I don't give a shit. I kind of like, I did my part. Obviously he's not being that confrontational, but he's like, it's only moments away now. Like he's checking his watch. So he means some sort of tie-in with the eclipse. Like the peak of the eclipse is about to end, apparently. She hurries up, changes her mind, and shoots herself in the head with the pistol. And he's like, no, because so he's obviously alarmed by this. So he's worried that this is going to hurt their whole plan, which as a cult film horror nerds, like we kind of know what's happening. This is some sort of rebirth, impregnation ritual thing where Sam is going to be the vessel for, Satan to be born, the Antichrist, a demon, something like that. We know this is what's happening. But she only kind of wises up to it really maybe in that last moment. Cut to a TV news report that the eclipse was faster than they expected. So you're like, what does that mean? You're not really sure how that plays into the whole thing. But now you're in this hospital corridor. You go to Sam's, room in the hospital. Sam's in the hospital. She's still alive, but she's in bad shape. Like obviously she shot herself in the head. So her head's all bandaged up. She's unconscious. She's on like a heart monitor. The nurse comes in to give her some medicine and says kind of one of those, like not to anybody in particular, just like, oh, you poor thing. Don't worry. You're going to be just fine. And then touches Sam's belly. And she's like, both of you. So like, dun, 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 dun. She's been impregnated by a demon or something, right?
The
moon.
Happened.
The
She's
moon.
been impregnated by the moon.
Oh man, that's a fucking film. That's a script idea right there. I like that. So yes, she's been impregnated by something, but also you're like, well, what does that mean that the eclipse went faster, than expected? So it's intentionally just a little bit vague, but it's probably not great.
Yeah.
And that's it. Really, I mean, they in my mind, they nail the aesthetic. I think they nail the feel overall of a late 70s, early 80s, satanic panic exploitation movie. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, I think they nail it a little too much because there are parts of this that are pretty fucking boring. And also Sam does again, totally authentic to the genre, to the subgenre. She does a lot of stupid ass stuff that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, she
but
does.
It feels authentic, so I can't really ding it too much for that.
Yeah, she does dumbass stuff because if she didn't do dumbass stuff, we wouldn't have a movie. It's important to that. If like she would have just left the house or called anyone else, like called her roommate or called, like actually let the police come to the house to investigate it a little bit. Yeah. She might find something. Like she might be talking to the police and like telling them about how the Altmans are kind of weird. And then the police go, the who's nows? This isn't the Altman's house. This is the Petrosky's house. And they're like, who's the Petrosky? And it's like, that's this mustachioed Polak and his family. That's where they are. Where are they at?
They're the ones,
I don't know.
They're stanking upstairs. Yeah.
I found a bathtub full of hair. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I will say this. I like this movie a lot. I still like it a lot. But I will say a little bit of the shine came off in probably my third viewing of it. Mm-hmm. I think I saw it on my own once. And then I saw it when it was on Joe Bob, like, I don't know, sometime in the last 5 years. And then this was probably my third viewing. And
sure,
it's still, I like it. I really love the aesthetic. I think they nail it. But a little bit of the shine came off because it is, boy, it drags. A lot of nothing happens for a long time.
Yeah. Like I think this is like either my third or fourth watch of it, and it's like, I appreciate like a lot of the camera angles and stuff, but it just could be distilled down to, I don't know, it may be a tighter film or something at this point in my mind, because I already know all the beats of it. Like when you don't know all the beats and like what's behind the doors and shit like that, it's a good kind of tension builder. But yeah, at this point, I'm just like, all right, let's hurry it along.
it's hard to stay invested when you know there's no payoff, you know, and you're able to be tricked when you don't know if there isn't a payoff, I guess. But
right. Yeah. You don't have the mystery of the gunman anymore. So,
right.
Yeah.
All right. That was House of the Devil from 2009.
Continued in part 2.